So we don't have a countdown. Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
Hi, I'm George Luna.
Hey, I'm Frank Cooper.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement. We're back. It's been a long time. We all went on like summer vacation. We never came back. That's basically what happened.
Right? That's exactly what happened.
Pretty much. Anyway, but there was no way that we weren't going to talk about this movie. You know what I mean? Spider-Man: No Way Home. I loved it. Just spoiler alert, real quick. I thought it was amazing. As we get started here, we're talking about the movie. We're going to go around the room and talk about. We're going to do spoiler-free thoughts first. But before I get to that, I want to mention that one of our co-hosts, Brittany Pacheco, is not here today. She has not seen the movie yet. She's actually going to see it tonight. Brittany's not the biggest Spider-Man fan, but I think she'll like this movie. So if she does, or if she doesn't, she might record her own little video and post it on YouTube. And speaking of videos, she has her own solo project here on YouTube. It's Brittany's Magic Trunk. So if you like Harry Potter and everything related to that universe, go check that out. Again, Brittany's Magic Trunk. But today we are here to talk about Spider-Man: No Way Home. And again, let's start out with spoiler-free thoughts. George, what did you think about the movie?
Spoiler-free. Honestly, I don't see how people cannot like this movie. It was that good. Man, I just want to talk about the deep stuff with you and jump into it. But honestly, it's a great movie. I enjoyed it a lot. And I'll pass it on to Frank because I just want to get into it and talk about the spoilers.
So on the record, Andrew Garfield is my favorite Spider-Man of all time.
Wait, but why? Don't spoil anything.
Yeah, that's already a spoiler there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I will say this: Tom Holland.
You're right. Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. Tom Holland's acting is stupendous in this movie. Like I forgot I was watching a Marvel movie, for a quick second because the level of acting that he brought to the table. I think it's like 25 in real life, but like he really had me believing he was a teenage kid, and he really had me believing that he was going through the losses and tribulations that he was going through in this movie. There was some scenes in is it Far From Home? When you're in Europe, there's some scenes in Far From Home. I'm like, okay, all right. Some of the disparate scenarios that he was in had me really like, okay, he might have something. He brought it home with this role. He did.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Tom Holland's acting in this movie was tremendous. All the actors, and like I said, we'll get into more in our spoiler section because there were surprises and there were people that we knew were going to be in the movie that were in the movie way more than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed it. Man, it was like, to me, it was like Spider-Man Endgame. It was like Endgame for the character. It was like the most Spider-Man movie of all of them. And it's, like I did some rankings, and we'll talk about the rankings later. I'll show them to y'all. And they're on social media. You can find them on my Twitter account or on the Watchers accounts on Facebook and Twitter right now. I don't think it's necessarily fair for this movie to be number one, almost kind of like how I think Endgame is the best MCU film. Mm-hmm. Because it was like made to be the best movie. You know what I mean? Like you have so many moments and so many characters and like the history of all these Spider-Man movies, which spans almost 20 years. And somehow they encapsulate all of it and really delivered an amazing experience at the theater. So I love the movie. We're gonna have to get into the spoilers now because there's too much to talk about to avoid that. So if you're watching now and you haven't seen the movie, please go see the movie.
Yes.
Go see it, and then because we don't want to spoil it. I don't want to I told Brittany, she said she wanted to be on the show even though she hasn't seen the movie. I'm like, no, go see the movie first because there are things that happen in this movie that are going to make you laugh, make you cry. They just hit you on so many levels, and I wasn't expecting that. I knew it was going to be. I knew I was going to like it because I just like the stuff anyway. But the movie, it really, they just know what the hell they're doing. That's all I can say. They know what they're doing. And they did it, and what an awesome experience it was. Mm-hmm. So, real quick, before we get to spoilers, I just want to say this, just hit you with a couple of facts here. So Spider-Man No Way Home came out on December 17th. And in less than a week, this movie has grossed $751 million worldwide. Well on its way to being the first $1 billion film of 2021.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a staggering amount of money. I mean,
it's not even a week yet. That's crazy.
It's the second biggest opening weekend in the history of movies, behind only Avengers Endgame. I mean, just think about that. Like
the pandemic era of all times too.
Yeah, in a pandemic. Yeah, so I mean, there are countries right now that have restrictions where you can't, go in theaters. Like I think I saw something like Denmark is that way, and it's like I don't, not that's a huge country, but I mean, there are people that want to see that movie in Denmark, and they can't for at least a month or so, if not longer. So, I mean, just the movie, staggering amount of money. And speaking of the money, I just want to touch on so there's been no $1 billion film this year. Spider-Man No Way Home is already the 4th highest grossing movie of the year. It just passed F9, The Fast Saga, which that kind of hurts me. Because let's be real, F9 in a regular year would have been $1 billion film. The James Bond movie, No Time to Die, is number 3, and Spider-Man is going to probably pass that today. And in the top 2 movies, the number 1 movie grossing movie so far is a movie called The Battle at Lake Changjin. And then the second movie is Hi Mom, and these are both foreign films. So
interesting.
Anyway, Spider-Man No Way Home is going to top it in a couple of weeks. It'll be the number 1 movie of 2021. So really impressive. Once again, the movie is directed by John Watts. He directed No Way Home. He directed Homecoming, and he's also going to direct Fantastic Four. So I'm really looking forward to that, because this guy, he's done some awesome work, and the Fantastic Four, need some help to bring that back to the big screen in the right way. As Frank said, Tom Holland once again is back as Spider-Man. I don't know what I was saying. It's back as Spider-Man. The whole cast. I mean, the cast is awesome in this movie. So let's just stop there. Let's get to spoilers. George, spoil this movie. What? I don't know where to start. Just jump in.
I'm gonna start right when they. Honestly, the biggest thing for me was when we saw Daredevil, because that was almost right in the beginning. They wasted no time. You see him sitting down in the living room with them, and they're talking, and he gets all the charges dropped, and the boy's free. They throw the brick, and he just catches it. Nothing. And wait, do that, and that just honestly, that crossover for me was better than the Spider-Mans. Just seeing Matt Murdock there and them introducing him into the MCU was so cool. I love that. I've been rewatching Daredevil over here because my wife's sister has never seen the series, and she's in love with it, and she's watching it right now. So that was a huge thing for me. That was the first thing that really jumped out for me. What about you, Frank?
He catches the brick too. There's a because this movie begins. It picks up right at the end of Far From Home, where Mysterio revealed that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So the whole world knows now. And, a lot of people don't like Spider-Man, don't like Peter Parker. They know where he lives. And someone throws a brick through the window that says, I don't know, no more Spider-Man or whatever. It's anti-Spider-Man. And Matt Murdock, obviously Daredevil, who's blind, just blindly, no look catches the brick, and it's that was such a cool moment. It's wow, this universe, I mean, that happened what, the first 15 minutes of the movie or less?
Something like that.
I mean, when I saw that, I'm oh, I know there's some more big surprises coming. So pick up from there. What do you got?
Well, so to backtrack a little bit, if you watched Hawkeye that week, that was a great segue to let you know that Daredevil was probably going to be in there. I won't spoil Hawkeye episode 4. You just gotta go watch it. You gotta watch it, and Marvel does a great job of syncing everything together with the continuity. Again, from show to movie, from movie to show, it does a great job with just connecting everything, all the dots. That George is on the spot with that one. The Daredevil showing up with the red glasses. That the whole theater went wild when we saw that. the next oh my god moment was when Tom Holland Spider-Man just lost Aunt May. So Green Goblin, his glider goes through Aunt May, knocks her down, and she's bleeding, internally and externally as well. And then as is it Ned? Is that the friend name?
Yeah. Ned.
So Ned is trying to find Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, because he's missing. He has that stranger's ring. He's trying to open up a little transporter vortex thing.
Right.
And he sees a Spider-Man in an alleyway. And, and MJ and Ned's like, hey, Peter, you okay? You okay? As he walks up, the dark comes to the light. It's Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Dude, yep. The crowd went nuts, absolutely nuts. And I got too crunk because I love Andrew Garfield. I think he's a wonderful actor. Unfortunately, the Amazing Spider-Man movies weren't up to par as far as the story, but I think he did a great job as an actor in those stories. So seeing the first Spider-Man from the other multiverse come into play was awesome as well. The villains were great too. Like, isn't it crazy that the guy who plays Dr. Ock and the guy that plays Sandman and Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe, they look exactly the same from 15, 18 years ago. It's crazy. They didn't age a day, it seems like.
Alfred Molina looks younger, dude. He looks younger in this movie than he did in the Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2,
yeah. He does. But yeah, those are the villains, reappearing from other multiverses and the Spider-Man's reappearing. That's what had me just like off my rocker, because I was a fan of all the Spider-Mans growing up, and it was 2.5 hours of just nostalgia for me.
I'm gonna be real with y'all. I've never seen the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, but seeing him in this movie makes me want to watch them.
You know what? Like,
he was great. He was really good in this movie, but I don't know why I never watched them. I just never got a chance to watch them.
You know what happened to those movies for me, and I've rewatched all the Spider-Man movies the last couple months, kind of getting ready for this movie. Is I remember when Amazing Spider-Man 1 came out. It came out only about 4 or 5 years after Spider-Man 3, right? Mm-hmm. And there was talk of Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi. They were going to do a Spider-Man 4, but then it fell through the last minute. And Sony has this weird deal with Marvel where, so they own, Marvel owns the character obviously, but Sony owns the movie rights.
Yeah.
And there's something in the contract where they have to put out a movie I don't know, every 5 or 6 years or whatever, or they lose those rights. And so they had to fast track a new Spider-Man story. That's what they did. And they chose to go a different direction. And, rewatching those movies they're not bad. I mean, Frank's right. Story-wise, there's some weird stuff, but I think it's weird just so they try to be just a little bit different than the Tobey Maguire movies, because those movies were kind of, honestly, going back and watching them, they don't hold up in my mind, but they were so big in the moment, and they were so defining for superhero movies that this one falling right after that, you're just almost like, oh god, we have a new cast of characters, we have new Spider-Man, we have new Peter Parker, we have a new Aunt May and Uncle Ben and all that stuff. But honestly, the actors in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, I think, are better than the Sam Raimi Spider-Man verse. Okay. Especially Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield is so good.
Yeah.
He's both Spider-Man and Peter Parker. His Peter Parker is Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker was kind of a nerd, but a loner, and I don't know, it's weird. Andrew Garfield's is different. He's kind of like a skater kid. He's he's not like a nerd, but he's not cool. He's just kind of in the middle. You know what I mean?
He's witty. He's very, very witty in those movies.
Very witty. Yeah, yeah. And him and Emma Stone, they were obviously dating at the time, but their chemistry in that movie is insane. I don't think I've ever seen two actors in a movie that you definitely tell that they're in love, in real life, because it's so transparent and they're so good as those characters.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, those movies, George, you should definitely watch them.
Yeah,
I don't want to spoil them for you. I think I've spoiled something for you. I think you. Well,
I kind of know what happens. I know Gwen Stacy dies, and I know, but I like how they gave him his redemption, and it kind of made him, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, feel better in this movie. You could still feel that, even though I didn't watch the movies.
Yeah, No, I
That
mean
guy
that's
was
like
awesome.
when
That
No,
was
what's
oh
that?
my god.
that
Yeah,
was,
because
that was
Andrew
great.
Goddard in Amazing Spider-Man 2 is so dramatic and like you can tell that he carries that guilt going through this Spider-Man movie. He still has that anger, that anguish, and that guilt from losing his his love. And saving MJ, you see it on Andrew Garfield's face, and it just reaffirms like, God damn, that guy's a great actor. He's a really great actor, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, and like Frank was saying, with her death in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, to me that was like so surprising. Like I did not see that coming because she falls and he's chasing after her and he just barely misses. Like he barely misses saving her. And it's like it's so close that like when it happens, you see it, you're like, did he save her? It's really hard to tell, but yeah, it hits you and. Yeah, the fact that they let him. Go ahead.
I think you froze.
George might be frozen. Not sure. I think George is frozen.
You may have froze.
George, if you could rejoin. Let's see.
There you go.
There we go. I think George is back.
I mean, I can
George,
I can hear y'all.
Okay, yeah. You froze up on our end. No, I was just saying, like her death in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 was like so surprising, and then, like Frank was saying, they gave Andrew Garfield that moment of redemption where when MJ is falling, Peter, Tom Holland, Peter, I guess Peter Parker 1, as they call him in the movie, he can't get to her, and Andrew Garfield does, and that's a really cool moment. I mean, just seeing those characters, seeing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield walk in the movie, like. Frank, you're right. Like watching with a crowd was awesome because people just erupted. I mean, people did the same thing with Matt Murdock. The second they showed Matt Murdock, like people lost their minds, and then it's like it kept like ramping up. It's like, oh, Andrew Garfield's next.
Yeah,
everyone's freaking out. Tobey Maguire, everybody's freaking out. Yeah, and I don't know. It was like I didn't expect Aunt May to die in this movie. I didn't see that coming, and but it gave her the opportunity to say, with great power comes great responsibility, which had been the Uncle Ben line in the previous two films.
That's my only beef, though, with the movie, man. That's my only beef is because I feel like Marissa Tomei brings a certain aspect to I mean, outside being younger, but she brings a flair, a unique aspect to that character that I've never seen before. And even in Spectacular Spider-Man comic books, Amazing, Ultimate Spider-Man, she has this like very mainstream hip role. And I feel like just taking her away just kind of takes away some from the Spider-Man movies, the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies in general, because man, she's so great, man. She's so good.
I mean, she's such a beautiful woman, but also like she's so good as that character, and it's like it's so believable, and like I mean, she plays a huge role in this movie, whereas in the previous two, she was kind of a part of like comic relief stuff, which those movies were awesome too, and the comedy was great in those movies. But she's such a huge role in this movie, and her death, like, it really is emotional, and the way Tom Holland reacts to it, like that's like really good acting. Like I know people don't consider superhero films to be like on the level of these Oscar-worthy films, but like that's like a really great touching moment in a superhero movie. So I mean, it got me for sure. I was not expecting it. I was like, wow, this movie. And then like what was so brilliant about the movie is they knocked you down, and then like I think it was the next scene where you were talking about where Ned and MJ discover Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. And like, so they knock you down, they bring you right back up, and you're just like, oh, this is awesome. Now we're getting Andrew Garfield. We know we're going to see Tobey Maguire, and this movie is just going to be, one for the ages.
Yeah, a part of me does not want to let that go. Even in both the post-credit scenes, I was hoping that somehow Doctor Strange screws up the multiverse even more and kind of goes back in time or brings back a version of Aunt May. I'm hoping, and we'll talk more about this in this podcast about it flowing to Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. But I'm hoping once he fixes all the tears in reality that they somehow bring her back, because she's such a great character, man. And it's going to be, and I kind of see where they're going with it. They want to, go back to the classic Spider-Man with the suit and you know, living in a 1-bedroom apartment and probably working at the Daily Bugle eventually. But I don't know. I think one of the reasons why I love this MCU Spider-Man was the vital differences from the original Spider-Mans. The Stark Tech, suits. You know, Happy, you know, being his little sidekick. Aunt May, you know, actually knowing about his identity, which in all other Spider-Man she never knew his identity. So these vital differences, I thought, really made this Spider-Man series go.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it was really cool the way it ended. Like you said, where he's making his own suit. It's more of like the classic Spider-Man suit. Um, but let's talk about the Doctor Strange part of it, because he was obviously a big part of. And George is back. George is back.
Sorry, guys, my Wi-Fi was acting up out here.
No, I understand, man. It happens. Hey, so George, we're just about to talk about Doctor Strange. He played such a big role in this movie. What did you think about Doctor Strange in the film?
I don't know. It just seemed weird. Like, he seemed weird in the beginning. Like, the fact that he would play along and help him, I guess he did feel bad for him, because he did spend time with him in Infinity War out there in space and stuff. And he knows what he did to, like, he sacrificed himself. He went in the blip too. And maybe he felt sorry for him and he just wanted to, you know, try and help him out in some kind of way. But I still think it's kind of weird that he risked something to do that, and that he fucked up in the process of doing
it. You know what I think it was? Like, whenever we saw the trailer, and you know, people were saying, "Oh, like Doctor Strange, why is he wearing a hoodie? You know, under his his cape's over. He's wearing a hoodie. Like, that's so weird." It seems like he was like almost like maybe it's a variant of the character or something, coming off like watching Loki. And
exactly. Let me jump in, Jay.
Sure.
So you say that, and then the end credit scene that we see, spoiler, that we see, there's a different Doctor Strange, and for the other movies. So we don't know. That could be a possibility.
I think that Doctor Strange that we see in the end credit, which was basically a trailer for the movie, that was the Doctor Strange, that evil one that was created in What If.
What If?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Like that. I think that's what we're meant to think. Now, who knows, you know, what's going to happen with that. And obviously, you know, having Wanda in the movie, like, you know, is she going to be the villain? You know, what role does she play? I mean, I'm looking forward to the movie, you know, way more than I was before. And, you know, thanks to what he did in this movie. But what I was saying about him looking kind of strange, I think what it was is the fact that, you know, Wong mentions that he's the Sorcerer Supreme and not Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange saying, "Yeah, it's only because I got blipped. I was out of the game for 5 years. That's why you're the Sorcerer Supreme." And so, to me, they almost set it up like, you know, like he was going to do this to help Peter, because they've been through a lot. Obviously, they were, you know, blipped in, you know, Infinity War, then came back in Endgame. And it's like he wanted to help him out, and also it's like, you know, he's not in charge, so to speak. And it was like his chance to say, like, well, I'm still really in charge and I have this power and I can do this. You know, I think it was like kind of a hubris move.
Yeah.
And then it just went haywire because, you know, the wish was, or the spell was supposed to be like, you know, Peter didn't want anybody to remember that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, right? Or, he, you know, whatever. And then as Doctor Strange is like weaving the spell or casting the spell, Peter's like, "Oh, but you know, my girlfriend, you know, MJ, and then my aunt and Happy and my, you know, Ned and all these people." And so as he's, you know, because he's saying this stuff, Doctor Strange like kind of loses control of his spell.
Yeah. And
thus we get all the villains from the other Spider-Man movies. You know, we see Doc Ock and we see the Green Goblin and we see you know, Electro and the Lizard and Thomas Hayden Church's Sandman. They all return from those different movies in the past. So I think that's what it was. I think it was like he was just trying to like help the kid, but also prove that I'm still the man. Yeah.
Asked for too much at the wrong time.
Right.
Which is ironic because like everything he asked, like what ended up happening is everyone ended up forgetting him. But in a way, he did save all these villains like lives because they're probably still alive in their universe. Which is fucking crazy to think about, by the way.
Well, like, you know, in the movie they say that the villains they died fighting Spider-Man, but how many of them really died? Like Green Goblin did in Spider-Man 1.
Doc did too.
Doc did too. He fell in that pit.
The reactor that he created, he was trying to the boulders underwater all collapsed on him, and Spider-Man MJ got out of there.
I mean, did Electro die?
He died too.
He died because he got supposedly he was trapped within the energy or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I rewatched those movies. And it's not.
Did the lizard die? He didn't.
Right? The lizard turned into he went back human again in Amazing Spider-Man 1.
Then why is he a reptile here? Do they get picked from a certain point in time? That confused me.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It has to be before they died or before he changed.
Right.
Yeah, because Doc Ock was good. He was good because he helped Spider-Man MJ escape the underwater where the reactor was at.
Yeah,
he was good for that quick second before he died because the chip. I think Spider-Man broke the chip that was controlling the tentacles.
Yeah,
was controlling him.
Yeah,
but yeah, Lizard didn't die and Sandman didn't die either. Sandman, I don't think Sandman didn't die. Sandman got back to his daughter in the Spider-Man 3. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think you're right, George. I think they were just plucked at certain moments in
that's interesting.
Their movies or their universes or whatever, because that was kind of strange. To me, the spell stuff. Anytime there's magic, to me it's we have a question here from MJ here on YouTube. So he says, "Yo, what do you guys think? What did you guys not like about this movie?" And I think I'll say maybe the one thing I didn't like or I thought was kind of weird was the spells. Because it was kind of confusing. So people don't remember who Peter Parker is at the very end because that was a spell. But I mean, Spider-Man is still a thing, right?
I agree with you, Jay, because that confused the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So everyone knows that Spider-Man is this, right?
Right.
But they don't know who Peter Parker is. So did he not help the Avengers? They don't know. They just completely forgot about him.
Well, that's what Strange said. He said if I do this spell, the world will not remember you. Will not remember Spider-Man. So
no, he didn't say Spider-Man.
Who did he say?
Spider-Man. He said Peter Parker. Everyone remembers Spider-Man.
So, you sure he said Spider-Man?
Yes, bro. He said Peter Parker, not Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's Peter Parker. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think Spider-Man is still. People still know that Spider-Man exists. They just don't know who Spider-Man is, right?
Yeah, because you see Jonah Jameson talking about it once they erase everybody. They're still talking about Spider-Man.
And he says, "Who is this Spider-Man? Or who is this menace or whatever?" Yeah. I mean, we all need to see this movie again for sure because there's lots of stuff in it.
That's the only thing that bugged me about the movie towards the end because it really did confuse me. It's Spider-Man exists, but if he's not, I don't know. It just really confused the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like they completely erase Peter Parker from existence in everyone's mind.
Yeah,
and to me, that's
so. Then who was Spider-Man? If he wasn't there to do it.
Well, I mean, your example of Endgame, in the Endgame times, I don't think a lot of people knew who Spider-Man was. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't I mean, they knew Spider-Man was a superhero, but they didn't know he was Peter Parker until Mysterio reveals it.
Yes, and that happened after Endgame. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, to me, that stuff is confusing. There was a movie that came out a year ago this time that I liked quite a bit, and a lot of people didn't like, which was Wonder Woman 84, and it had similar kind of magic stuff. No, I mean, think about the same kind of magic. There's a wishing stone. There's a wizard who can.
That movie was so stupid to me. Yes, I know where you're going with the magic, but yes.
But what I'm saying, the logic of it is kind of the same. It's you kind of have to just go on the ride. You know what I mean? It's not I
can't even compare it to that, Jay. The magic part, because this one made way more sense than that movie.
Well, I agree that it makes more sense, but what I'm saying is it's on the same kind of level of if everyone had a wish, there's some weird stuff would happen. Just you're racing Peter Parker. There are people that went to school with him for 15 years. How do you there are people that have pictures or have things with Peter Parker that does he disappear from Back to the Future in the photos? You know what I'm saying? It's such a weird thing to.
Well, did you notice that in most of the pictures with MJ and Ned, Peter's not in a lot of the photos. They were hinting towards it.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The MCU is like they do a really good job of answering basically every question you have about the movies, right? I mean, there's plot holes from time to time, but it's not like these like gaping holes that like the Cowboys offensive line used to open up for Emmitt Smith to run through. Like it's not like that kind of stuff. Like where like DC is like, yeah, Metropolis and Gotham City are right next to each other, and it's like, okay, and yeah, Batman's been around for 20 years, but no one in Metropolis has ever heard of him. Like that kind of weird like logic that doesn't make sense. The MCU doesn't do that. But I'm just saying, whenever you involve magic and turning back time and erasing people, it gets messy to me.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. For time travel, it always opens up something.
Yeah.
Right. So here's my question about the movie. So Loki, the events of Loki happens before No Way Home, right?
I don't know. That's what I was wondering.
So I guess my question is, was the timelines already screwed up before Doctor Strange screwed him up himself with the whole Spider-Man deal? Were there variants already walking around in Spider-Man that we don't know about? Like, is Loki after? Like, I don't like. That could be possible. Already, dealing with like messing around with these timelines already is my question.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's part of it that like, I mean, obviously I've been watching the stuff that's happened since the last time we've done the show, but to me that part is kind of confusing. It's almost like they need to like tell us like when these series start, like when they're set. And maybe some of them do, but it's kind of hard to remember exactly where they fit in the timeline of Endgame and going forward. I mean, I guess they're all after Endgame, but like Hawkeye, for example. Hawkeye seems to be happening the same week of Spider-Man No Way Home. Don't y'all think? Like
the Christmas thing,
when he swings off. Christmas in New York. It looks like you see similar,
that's because I think doesn't Kate Bishop not Kate Bishop doesn't Yelena doesn't she talk about like sightseeing the Empire the Statue of Liberty with the new updates to it?
Right. Yeah. She just says new and improved. She doesn't say
new and improved. Yeah. So I think it is like it has to be the same time.
But then so that leaves us with did Hawkeye take place after Loki or before it, or like what's happened? I think it might have been before it, right?
I don't know.
That's a good question. That's a question I don't have the answer.
Or is it all during the same time? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And like obviously what happens at the end of WandaVision leads directly into this Doctor Strange sequel, which obviously this movie happens before that. Okay. So I don't know if like everything in Phase 4 is kind of happening at the same time, and then like until we get our next big.
I think they'll explain it in the next movie. I think they have to explain it for the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, the MCU does a really good job of answering that question. Maybe they don't answer it like right away, but there will be some kind of like explainer or some kind of like you'll understand it. It won't be kind of like whatever, like so. Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe it will be. I mean, like even the math of it's kind of weird, where it's like the blip happened in 2018. When they come back, it's 2023, but obviously in our world, it's 2021.
Yeah.
So that's also kind of confusing. And in our chat, Drew, our super fan from Wisconsin, what's up, Drew? He said only Kevin Feige really knows. So I agree with that. That's probably the most accurate podcast today.
Yeah,
Kevin Feige, he's at the wheel. He's in control of all of our lives, I think.
So
go ahead, George.
No, so what's the next thing that we have coming that we have to wait for now? For what's the next series or the next? Now that Hawkeye's over and this movie came out,
I'm not sure.
Is there another Sony movie coming out before?
Well, Morbius comes out in January,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, here's my question. The Spider-Man universes, like how is that tying in? Because Venom was at the end credit of this,
right?
And they left a little hint of like a little symbiote.
Yep.
And so what does that mean now? Are we gonna get like a is that Venom, or is it gonna turn into another symbiote?
So here's my theory. So in the comic books, my dog's walking on the hardwood floors. So in the comic books, the symbiote, the alien, it's connected to all different types of multiverses, not just the reality that it's in. So let's say it's a symbiote in the Andrew Garfield multiverse, or the Tobey Maguire multiverse. That symbiote in the Venom multiverse is connected to that symbiote. So all Venom symbiotes are connected in the comic book. That's how it's set up. So my theory is, did y'all watch Venom 2?
Yes, I finally watched it.
I didn't watch it, but I saw the mid credit or the end credit that shows spoilers. Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So in the post credit, Venom is Eddie Brock and Venom are in this motel, and they're watching the news, and Spider-Man's identity just got found out. So my question was, did the Loki series put him there? Did Loki series put Venom there? Because originally he wasn't in that universe. He's in a separate multiverse. So something put him there in the first place.
Yeah,
and then
he didn't know who Peter Parker was.
No, he didn't.
No.
But the symbiote did, and I feel like the symbiote, because the symbiote is connected to all other symbiotes, all multiverses. I believe
that's a good theory, Frank.
Huh?
That's a good theory.
Yeah, and then I think when Doctor Strange fixed everything back, Eddie Brock / Venom got sent back to their multiverse. So in the Spider-Man and in the Sony Spideyverse, that I don't think that Tom Holland is that Peter Parker in that multiverse with more.
So how are they gonna connect it?
So the rumor I heard is that there might be an Andrew Garfield back.
That's what I heard too. That's what I want to see. That would be so awesome if Andrew Garfield, the Venom he faces off with is Tom Hardy's Venom, right? And that's what you're saying, Frank. Yeah.
Correct.
And like you said, in that mid credit, there's a little bit of like the symbiote like goop that's like on the bar. So it would imply that it's still here in Peter Parker 1's universe, like in Tom Holland's universe, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and because like it's a crude joke, it's a crude tease to think that this Venom is going to be involved in Tom Holland's Spider-Man. All this, all these hints only going to go back to his multiverse. It's kind of messed up, but if we get Andrew Garfield out of this, I love it.
So you think this is going to take place in Andrew Garfield's universe?
I think so. I think
Garfield
is going to be put in Venom's universe.
So like Mobius, like all those movies that are coming out, you think that's taking place, and you think that Garfield's going to be in that Spider-Man?
Well, see, here's where it's kind of tricky, because if you see the Morbius trailer, Michael Keaton's Vulture is in the trailer, and Michael Keaton's Vulture was the villain in Tom Holland's Homecoming movie. So it's kind of messy. It's kind of confusing. Hopefully they'll figure it out, and if they're going to figure it out, they're going to need Kevin Feige to help, or the MCU to help guide them, because I do believe that Sony's going to make a lot of Spider-Man movies. I mean, obviously you've got Morbius coming out. I believe there's a Spider-Woman movie in development.
Spider-Woman. There's a Black Cat movie.
Black Cat, yeah.
Somebody.
And so they're doing. Yeah, and let's be real. Like, it's only a matter of time until we get Miles Morales live action. But that's going to happen. Like, that has to happen. Sure. I like how Jamie Foxx even like made a joke about it, where he's like, when Andrew Garfield took off his mask, he's like, I always thought there was a black Spider-Man. I thought you'd be black or whatever. And it's like, that was like their nod to like, Miles is going to be coming. And I'm glad Miles wasn't in this movie, because it's like, it would have been too much. It's like, save some.
That would have been so cool.
No, it would have been cool, but it's like save, because like he's such a cool character, and especially if he's going to interact with Tom Holland. Like, we need for Tom Holland to get a little bit older, because Miles is younger than Peter Parker. I mean, he doesn't have to be, I guess, but
So did you ever catch that when Donald Glover came out in the movie? Yeah, when he was on the phone, he's talking. He said, he's like, "All right, Miles." He was talking to his nephew.
Yeah, he's the uncle. Yeah.
There's an end to that. Like we
he's
could definitely.
Aaron, I think Donald Glover was playing Aaron, the uncle from the
Yes, he
cartoon.
was the uncle. He said, all right, Miles, and then he hung up.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see him. It's a matter of when, like in the timeline, which we've been talking about timelines, and that's been confusing anyway. But there's no need to rush Miles because Miles is the star of Into the Spider-Verse, and there's going to be the sequel. The first part of the sequel comes out in 2022, so it's going to be at least two parts that I know of. That's going to be its own franchise, and then eventually he'll join the MCU or he'll join the Sonyverse. That's down the road. But I mean, it's like this character is so cool. Like it's such a rare thing to where you have this iconic character. Spider-Man obviously is the most popular comic book character ever of all of them, right? It's super popular. Yeah. And then you create another version or the next, iteration of that character, and it's like super cool. And he's, that character's only been around. Talking about Miles, only been around since 2007 or 2008. So
yeah.
Young character. He's already got a hit video game. He's already got a hit animated movie. He's going to have a hit animated series of movies. So they're just passing the torch, and it's such a cool thing to do. And I don't think that, like Captain America, obviously we have a new Captain America, and that's super cool too. It's not the same thing. Like Miles is Spider-Man, but he's different, but he's still Spider-Man. And it's like, they're keeping this thing going. And it's like, I mean, there's endless possibilities for these movies in my mind. There's so much that you can do with Tom Holland, whether he wants to continue, which there's been some speculation that
I heard his comment.
Yeah, his quote was, he's 25 years old. He's saying, if I'm still doing Spider-Man movies at age 30, something went wrong. Which I'm like, what do you mean, dude? Like, these movies are awesome. They're hit movies, and 30 is only 5 years away for him. Which that would be another movie, maybe two. Because it takes a long time to make these movies. So I don't know why he's so eager to jump off the train. I mean, hopefully Uncharted is a hit too.
I think he means he wants to be known as an actor instead of just Spider-Man. I think that's what he was getting at.
I get that, but man, those movies, it's that's such a cool role. I mean, Andrew Garfield, I think, wanted to continue. He just wasn't asked to. I think he's I've read a lot of stuff about him and about how he was a super Spider-Man fan as a kid, and that was the role of a lifetime. And he's a great actor. I think he's the best actor in this movie. He's freaking awesome in the movie. If you've seen any of his other work, he's really good. I mean, I've never seen a bad Andrew Garfield movie.
I haven't either. He was great in Social Network as well.
I've never seen a bad Jake Gyllenhaal movie. Have you ever seen a bad Jake Gyllenhaal movie? He's good in everything.
I haven't seen that many movies of him, honestly.
Okay, I thought he was going to be in this movie. I thought somehow Mysterio was going to be
in a movie. He was like the Bubble Boy.
Well, okay, he might have. I mean, okay, there's probably some silly movies that back in the day, but when it's a serious dramatic kind of thing, he can knock that apart. Just touching on the villains again, one of the things that surprised me, and I'll get y'all's thoughts on this, I didn't realize how big of a role Willem Dafoe was going to play in this movie.
Dude, speaking of great acting, holy shit, that guy is amazing. The fact that he didn't use the mask to kind of differentiate the Green Goblin and his character, good.
Yeah, he was incredible. I didn't realize he was going to be the main villain. I thought he was just going to make a cameo. I thought we'd see a couple scenes with him and that's it. But I mean, he was the main guy. What'd you think about it, Frank? As far as Willem Dafoe,
he was a beast, man. I literally thought I was watching Spider-Man 1 2.0. The guy didn't lose a step in his thespian acting, man. Like George said, how he differentiates between Green Goblin and Osborn without the mask is he channeled himself. And one of my favorite scenes is when Peter Parker's spider sense goes off and he senses Willem Dafoe going back to Green Goblin. That was a great scene for many reasons. One, how on point the spider sense is for Tom Holland, and two, how great of a transition that Willem Dafoe goes from Osborn to Green Goblin. The guy did a great job. He really did.
Speaking of spider sense, Jay, real quick, did y'all catch when Doctor Strange was trying to take the that thing from him, and he took knocked his body.
Yep.
You could see the spider sense like working. Like there was like this aura in the air, and he couldn't catch anything, and he didn't understand what was happening. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
It shows you that the spider sense is a subconscious. It's you know, it's something that he doesn't really control. It just it's really a sixth sense. You know.
Yeah.
So
it was so cool to see it that way, because we always see it right before danger happens, or like when Frank said he saw that he was changing into the Green Goblin, like he sensed it. But to see it like actually work and him like just doing stuff was really, really cool.
Yeah, like there's so much more to talk about with this movie. Like we've all got to see it again. Like I know I've got to see it again because like I mean I was like trying to remember everything about it. It's like I mean it was 2.5. It's like 2.5 hours, which is the longest Spider-Man movie of the 9 or whatever coming before it. But to me, that movie, it moves. To me, like Endgame. Like Endgame is long, but it moves. Like you're just going like from awesome scene to awesome scene. Like it just the train keeps rolling, and you don't really like. I wasn't even thinking about how long this movie was, and then it was over. I'm like, oh my god! Like I've been in this theater for like over 3 hours, and like what an experience. You know, like it was just incredible. I just this is why movies are awesome. You know, like this is maybe Spider-Man can single-handedly save the movie, at least the theater business with these movies. So we kind of hit everything, but I want to talk about the comedy because I obviously I love comedy. What was some of your favorite funny moments? Go to Frank first.
Oh, absolutely. Unequivocally, the lab scene where all three Spider-Mans interacting with each other as they're trying to create antidotes for each villain, how they're just bouncing off each other and like getting to know each other. That was my favorite part. There was so much. The kid in me came out in that scene, like seeing all the Spider-Mans I idolized over the last 20 years come together, and it's like it was like they acted before in movies previously together. The chemistry was just so on point between Toby, Andrew, and Tom, man. It was just that was probably my favorite scene in the movie.
I think my favorite was when they were all on the scaffolding at the Statue of Liberty, and they're talking, and he's like, wait, so he's like, y'all don't have to produce these? He's like, do you have? He's like, does it come out of anywhere else? Yeah. Like, oh my god, that scene was killing me. But honestly, one of the low-key funniest characters on this movie was Jamie Foxx's character.
He was funny. Yeah, he killed it.
He was hilarious. He was cracking me up the whole time.
My favorite comedic moment was when they first start fighting all the villains and they don't have like the teamwork down, and Tom Holland like stops them all. They're all like standing there, and he's like, we got to work like the Avengers. And then Tobey Maguire's like, what is that? Because like in Tobey Maguire's universe, they didn't have the Avengers, that Sony Pictures thing. And then Andrew Garfield's like, oh, are you in a band? You're in a band? I don't know. I just thought that was so funny. And then there's another great, really funny moment. So when Tobey Maguire shows up, when Andrew Garfield appears, he's in the costume. Yeah. And he takes the mask off, obviously, so we can tell who's who. But he has the mask, he has the costume on pretty much the whole time. Well, when Tobey Maguire shows up, he's just like, he's got jeans and a shirt and like a jacket, and they're getting ready to like go fight the villains. And Andrew Garfield looks at Tobey Maguire. He's like, "So, do you have a suit, or are you just like gonna dress like a cool minister, cool youth minister?" that made me laugh out loud because I was not expecting that. It was such a funny moment. I mean, there's so much comedy.
Is that he didn't look a young, cool youth minister.
Yeah. It's just like the way they're like busting on each other and everything. And then the whole like, I like how Tom Holland's like, well, I'm Peter 1, and Tobey Maguire's Peter 2, and then Andrew Garfield's like, yeah, Peter 3, I got it. It's like, I mean, it should be obviously Toby should be Spider-Man 1, but because it's in Tom Holland's universe, I understand. But
that's funny.
Like it's just like they just do stuff in these movies that like other superhero franchises couldn't do. They just connect the dots and make you laugh and make you cry and like make you feel something, and just like they just make you care about this stuff. Like after watching this movie, I was behind on Hawkeye. I caught up on Hawkeye. I haven't seen the finale yet, so don't spoil it yet. But I watched it. today, but it like this stuff is so good. It's so well done. I would just like if it were like a little more spaced out. Like I think like we went for such a dry run where we didn't have MCU because of the pandemic, and then boom, we got a bunch of it. And like I haven't seen Eternals yet. Has either of you seen Eternals?
I have it. Frank
Okay.
has.
I know what happens. Yeah.
It's very majestic. It's
right.
You know how the Avengers movies were action packed and witty. The Eternals is very dramatic and majestic. It's a very different tone from the Avengers movies. Really, from all the other Marvel movies, is a very different tone.
Okay.
I got worried when I saw that the director of the Eternals, Chloe Zhao, she said that she was inspired by Man of Steel, Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. And I was like, okay, I'll wait till this comes to Disney Plus. Like, I'm not risking getting COVID to see this movie. Like, I'll risk getting COVID for Spider-Man. Not going to do it for this movie.
When does it come to Disney Plus?
It comes on January 12th. They announced that a couple weeks ago. So. Yeah, so it's not that far. Yeah.
What's crazy about it, Shang-Chi is already on Disney Plus.
Yeah. I didn't see it in the theater either. Yeah. I watched that movie. You know what? That movie, I like the first half a lot. I like the character. I think the actor is awesome. I'm glad he's in the MCU. The second half of that movie, there's just so much like CGI dragon stuff that I didn't expect. I did not like. I didn't like all that stuff. Like I wanted to see a martial arts movie. Like I don't know. To me, the end of it, it's just like I'd like to fast forward through it. But the actor who plays Shang-Chi, awesome. I can't wait till he's like interacts with the other characters, and the comedy in that movie is really good. So I liked a lot of it, but just the end of it, I didn't enjoy. So. So let's get to the rankings. I did some rankings for all the Spider-Man movies after watching No Way Home. And I'm going to share those with y'all now. You can also find them on my Twitter account. This is @RJustinB. Or you can find on the Watcher. Look for it on the Watchers account. The Watcher is a Facebook, or the Watchers in the Basement Twitter account. Let's show that right now. Okay, so can y'all see that on my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so here we go. Here's my rankings. And y'all can agree or disagree. I'd like to hear what you think about it. So I think No Way Home is the best Spider-Man movie because, like I said, it's the most Spider-Man movie. It's, it's just everything. And it's kind of unfair because it has all these great moments from these other movies and all these great characters, and they're all in it. So it's kind of like a greatest hits package. But I think No Way Home's number one. I think Into the Spider-Verse is number two because similar reasons. It's amazing. There's so much happening in it. It's just it's an awesome film. Number three is Far From Home. Again, really enjoyed this Tom Holland's cast of characters, and I really enjoyed Mysterio as the villain. I think Jake Gyllenhaal did a great job. My number four is Spider-Man: Homecoming. Michael Keaton was great. It's an MCU movie. It's awesome. My number five is Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, before all these MCU movies, was kind of like seen as like one of the greatest superhero movies, and then the Dark Knight trilogy came along and knocked them down. But it's of the Raimi movies, it's the only one to me that holds up. The next one is The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which a lot of people hate, but the ending of that movie is obviously referenced heavily in No Way Home. Andrew Garfield is such a great Spider-Man, and again, Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy is like perfect casting. They're just so good together. It's like I wanted to see more with these characters. The Amazing Spider-Man 1 obviously was the first movie with it's next. It was the first movie with Andrew Garfield. I really like the Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben is oh God, I'm drawing a blank on who he is, but he's a great actor.
Martin Sheen,
yeah. And then Aunt May is Sally Field, and like they're just like it's like different from the Raimi verse. It's different from the Tom Holland verse, but like they're really good, and it really feels like they're his aunt and uncle. Andrew Garfield's. My eighth movie is Spider-Man, the original, which might seem like blasphemy, but like all I can say is go back and watch it. It doesn't hold up.
I just watched it the other day.
Yeah. And then my final is Spider-Man 3, which to me is just so messy because of all the villains. There's just too many villains. It's entertaining though. I'll say this about the Spider-Man movies. I don't dislike any of them. I just think there are some that are much better than others. So that's my list. Now that you've seen it, y'all can, please go to social media and react to it. Let me know what you think about it. If you think I'm crazy, tell me that. If you love it, tell me that. Tell me why you don't like it or why you do like it. I'd like to hear that because I think these movies, besides the couple at the top, I think the rest of them are kind of in the middle. It's kind of like your personal preference. So so I'll give you, George. What do you think about that list, and what do you think about how would you rank the movies, basically?
I mean, well, I can't rank the two so that I haven't seen, so I'd probably have to watch those first. But I agree with the first, your top four that you have there. I loved all those movies, and they'll probably be in the same order. And Spider-Man 2, honestly, I really like that movie.
Yeah,
I probably like that one more than the first Tom Holland Spider-Man. Just because like nostalgic for me. But the rest of them, I agree. This Spider-Man that just came out, definitely number one. Into the Multiverse, that's still one of the best Spider-Man movies. And No Way Home was good too. After we kind of see his loss after Tony and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd have to watch the other two, and then I'll get back to y'all. But do y'all know where I can watch the movies? Are they streaming anywhere?
I don't think so.
I don't even know where to watch them.
You know, I think for a while they were on Stars. So if you have like the Stars app, they might be on there. They're on, like, if you have access to like FX, they're on TV quite often. Like, you can, that might be the way to watch them. I'm not sure.
Probably on TV. Okay. I'll
check them out. Okay, sorry about that, George. Frank, what do you think about the rankings? How would you rank the movies?
As of right now, I still have Spider-Man Into the Multiverse number one, only because in totality, I wasn't confused. It made sense. As much as I love this new Spider-Man, there are still some things that need to be explained a little bit better. And it's not because of the movie; it's more because of what happens surrounding the movie with Loki and WandaVision and all the other stuff. I'm still kind of confused with where everything lays at. And then I'm still kind of bitter that Aunt May got killed. So I'm not happy about that at all still. So I have Spider-Man to Multiverse 1, the new Spider-Man 2, Far From Home 3. I'm going to switch Homecoming with Amazing Spider-Man 1. And I'm going to switch the first Spider-Man with Amazing Spider-Man 2. Then Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 1. And then Tony Maguire Spider-Man 2, and then Spider-Man 3 last, the Venom 1.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, these movies, like, they're all kind of like, it's just personal preference, really. I mean, like, I don't think there's any that are that bad. So, so last thing, we're talking about the future of the character. We all kind of like gave our thoughts on what we thought was the future. George, what do you think happens next in Spider-Man?
Oh, I have no idea, because like, he makes his own suit now, and so that's another thing that confused the shit out of me. What happened to everything that Tony gave him? That shit just disappeared? All those suits disappeared?
Yeah, I mean, I guess because no one knows who Peter Parker is.
He was wearing it. Like at the end, like it just magically went away?
Well, I mean, it was damaged, during some of that. I don't know. That's a good question. Good question.
But he's a smart kid. He can fucking fix it. Like he did so much shit. Like that's what confuses me. Or is he doing it because he wants like a new identity, but people still know he's Spider-Man? Like that confuses me. Yeah. And I don't know where this character's heading or what they're gonna do, but I'm excited to see, because I'm confused.
Yeah, I agree with you. Frank, what do you think the future is for Spider-Man?
I think Strange and Wanda fix the multiverse, and I think the world will remember him. Well, not the world, but I feel like the people who already knew about Tom Holland being Spider-Man will go back to knowing, and the mysterious stuff never happens. And I think the first Avengers movie, you'll see Tom Holland Spider-Man in it, with everybody knowing who he is, because like as of right now, it's Peter Parker stripped down. He's stripped down, but we already know that he's going to be involved in the Avengers in some capacity. He's going to be. We know that much for sure. So you might even get a Spider-Man of him, getting a job at the Daily Bugle and keeping his ear to the ground, as far as things of that nature. But I feel like whatever Strange and Wanda fix will go back to people knowing who he is as Spider-Man, and at least get some of that Stark Tech back too, and Happy knowing him as well. Because like that's too great of a storyline to just throw away and never see again. Is the connection between Happy and the Stark Tech and Peter Parker. That I thought that was very, very important to the MCU timeline because Pepper Potts is not in it. It's not in this movie a lot. So what happens to what happened to the Stark Tech? What happened to Stark Industries? I think Tom Holland's that one connection, him and Happy to Stark Industries to keep Stark Industries, in the fold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of good questions. I think, guys, I'm just going to come out and say it. Like, I know what's going to happen with Spider-Man in the future because I'm actually I'm working on something. I'll do it. So I'm the next Spider-Man film. It's called Spider-Man: Home for the Holidays. It's just in time with the pandemic going on. So again, I'm probably gonna get in a lot of trouble for saying this, but I'm writing, directing, and producing and starring in the movie. Not sure when we're going to see that, but I'm working really hard on it. It's actually really hard to see when we're in the mask. So writing, it's tough. It's taking time.
Foggy ain't gonna like this.
Yeah, honestly, I had an idea. I wanted to wear my Miles Morales hoodie today, but it's like a bazillion degrees here in Houston, Texas, so I couldn't do that. But anyway, I just wanted to get with a little bit of comedy. Thanks everybody for watching. We're now back. We're going to be doing more of these.
Well, you didn't say your thoughts, Jay.
What's that?
You didn't say your thoughts.
I think that I agree with Frank. Like Tom Holland's going to be a part of the MCU, but I do think that Sony wants to make Spider-Man movies. I mean, they're going to make movies because they make money. I would love it if the Andrew Garfield thing happens and he comes back, and I would love it if they do. If they put Tom Holland in with their villains and Morbius and Venom, and I would love to see that too. So I'm honestly, I don't know how it's going to go. I don't think any of us do right now, but there's a lot of exciting possibilities. So I'm looking forward to it. I want more Spider-Man. Yeah. So anyway, we're going to close it out now. So thanks to everybody for watching. Like I said, we're coming back. We're going to go back in time. We're going to do a What If series review. We're going to do a Hawkeye series review, and then we're going to get back on the train and kind of review these things kind of as a series instead of episode by episode. That works better for us. So any final thoughts, guys?
Go watch Spider-Man.
Yeah. Frank?
Man, I just need more Spider-Man, man. I need him in Avengers, something, Hey, stop. I just need more Spider-Man.
Everyone wants for Spider-Man. Okay. Well, hey, follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. We really appreciate it. And until next time, for Frank and for George, this is Justin saying, we'll see you later. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.